Well, you know, Fielding and the School of Human and Organizational Development are really perfect locations for a project like Creative Longevity and Wisdom. Our students come to Fielding because they want to break out of the mold. They bring a considerable professional experience and often educational background to their doctoral studies, and they do that because they want to transform themselves as well as the larger world. So the ideas that are central to Creative Longevity and Wisdom are what draw innovative and imaginative students to Fielding in the first place.
I think one of the reasons that Fielding was chosen to host the 2010 Positive Aging Conference is because we are one of the places in the nation that are really doing the kinds of research and community work involved in thinking about these new ways, these social innovations around aging well. What does it mean to age well? What does it mean to have a continued quality of life? How do we age either in our own homes, in communities? What kinds of networks of support do we need? What does society need to do? How do we invent these new ways of thinking about aging?
Why do people think that when your body gets more frail, when you slow up, when you get gray, when you get wrinkles, that there isn't something inside of you that can continue to grow in new ways?
We wouldn't have known who Freud was if he had died before he was 40. Cecil B. DeMille produced the 10 Commandments at the age of 75, and Le Corbusier designed Notre Dame du Hat in his 80s. So one of the things that this particular program of study is about is trying to discover what it is that allows people to be creative even into their 70s and 80s and 90s.
I feel that my growth is ahead of me. There's more. So staying open to possibilities is really what makes things happen.
And there's a lot of good research out there now that suggests that there are stages of cognitive and emotional and probably moral and spiritual development, identity development, that continue to change the way people see the world well into their middle age and maybe even beyond. People become more inclusive in their thinking and they become more abstract.
It's a great freedom to be older. Some people look at the restrictions of age. If you change your perspective and look at what's available, the inner growth and sometimes the outer expression of it that other people can appreciate and enjoy is absolutely amazing.
George Vaillant's Aging Well tells us what factors make the difference in the lives of those elderly people, say over 65, who are doing well in aging, and those who aren't. Even though they may have the same level of objective health and wealth and advantages or disadvantages, those who do well, he found, have certain characteristics, positive adaptive mechanisms, such as some of them are very simple, such as gardening. If you tend to garden, you have a better chance of aging well. And I didn't know that before I read his book, but I started getting out there and gardening after I heard it. But he has about eight or nine things that he found from his incredibly rich research. Getting out and moving and exercising is very important, and that alcohol, the use of alcohol and tobacco, were not on the list of the things that help you age well. They tend to be on the other side.
Many people who never thought they had creative potential now find out that when they are given an opportunity, for example, taking an art class or being inspired by somebody, and given the freedom to start working on their own projects, they start to flourish.
To there's a fair amount of evidence that the brain continues to develop, even through middle age and into later life. Connections between neurons continue to be made, to proliferate, to create neural nets that support very complex kinds of thinking. So while we know that aging doesn't guarantee wisdom, we also know that many people become quite wise as they age, and that's related to experience and obviously has a kind of physiological, neurological base.
If we talk about creativity, we are talking about renewal, we are talking about changes, we're talking about risk-taking, we're talking about an altered perspective, we're talking about newness and discovery.
Well, you can play golf for a while or do something like that, travel a little bit, and then suddenly you decide, well, no, wait a minute, what else is there out there to do?
It may well reside even in just changing the furniture in the living room or moving to a different location or shifting our relationships or really allowing ourselves to renew our sense and right to be curious about life. And really that's what I think is the most ingenious part of looking at creativity.
Well, I've had two wheels ever since I was 15 years old. I didn't see any reason to give that up just because the years started catching up to me. Most of my friends that I ride with are my age or older, some in their 50s, some kids. But a lot of us are 60s and 70s, and we go on day rides and overnight rides, and it's just a great way to be. It's a great experience to have. I don't see getting older causing me to give up on something I really love.
We treasure youth for good reasons. You know, our health is better. We're stronger. We're more fit. We're more vital, and this is true of all animals, the whole animal kingdom. But still, the attention to the fact that there can be wonderful times is even to the very end, is I think very healthy, and it's a great approach.
This project was initiated by one of our faculty, Valerie Bentz, with support from a friend and donor for Fielding, Frank Jankowitz.
Once you have the right values and you live with good spirit, it permeates you. That becomes you, it's your soul. And little by little you grow together with the soul.
One of the most important events that can occur to a person is actually going to graduate school. It makes a huge difference in terms of their cognitive development, that is their intellectual development, and may create a whole new stage of maturity in terms of how they think about the world around them. And there's a lot of evidence that that's the case.
As a social innovation, the Creative Longevity and Wisdom Project supports the kind of innovative research and community work that helps people age well. Fundamentally, that is what we're engaged in, is figuring out how is it that individuals can age well and what are the conditions that society needs to consider and invent in order to improve the possibilities for more of us to age well and with a higher quality of life.